Welcome back to the channel, Eagles Nation. Today's story hits a little different. And I'm not gonna lie, this one goes beyond football. When I heard about Jaire Alexander contemplating retirement, not because of a torn ligament or a bad season, but because of what he's been feeling mentally, it stopped me for a second. We talk all day about trades, about whether a team made the right move, about who's producing on the field, but this right here is about something way deeper than the game. It's about a man trying to hold himself together when the weight of everything starts pressing down harder than any defensive line ever could. Look, we all saw what happened when he left Green Bay. For years, he was one of the best corners in the league, no debate about it. He had that lockdown ability, that swagger you only see in elite defenders. Then came that knee injury, the kind that can change the whole trajectory of a career. The Packers looked at him, looked at their cap space, and decided to move on. They shopped him around for 2 seasons before Baltimore picked him up, hoping they could revive that Pro Bowl version of him. But that just didn't happen. Baltimore didn't get the player they were expecting. He had one of his worst games ever wearing that purple and black. And next thing you know, he's on a plane again, this time to Philadelphia. And at first, it looked like a fresh start. The Eagles were thinking maybe a new environment, a new culture, a new energy could bring him back to life. But then reports start surfacing. Coaches saying he's not ready, not physically, not mentally. That's when things hit home for me, because football can be brutal. The injuries, the pressure, the social media noise, it eats away at players. We just lost a young player in Dallas recently who was struggling silently. And I don't ever want to see something like that happen again. You can replace a cornerback on the field, but you can't replace a person's life. So if Jaire feels like he needs to take a step back, if he needs time to breathe, I say take it. Forget the game for a moment. Take care of your mind. And that's what people sometimes don't get about professional athletes. Everyone sees the fame, the money, the big plays, the highlight reels. Nobody talks about the mental grind that comes with it. You get injured, and suddenly your identity, the thing that's defined you your entire life, feels like it's slipping away. For a guy like Jaire, who grew up in Philly and made football his ticket out, his way to take care of his family. It's not just a sport, it's everything. So yeah, it hurts to even think he might be done before 30. This man should have had at least 2 or 3 more prime years in him, locking down receivers, talking his talk, celebrating picks, but life has other plans sometimes. That's why I'm not gonna sit here and debate trades or picks or who won the deal. Forget that. This ain't the time for that conversation right now. The only thing that matters is hoping this brother finds peace. I want him to take that mental break, get himself right, and if he comes back, cool, we'll all cheer him on like crazy. But if he decides to hang it up, then do it proudly. You did your job, you gave fans moments to remember, and you walked away before the game took more from you than it already has. It's crazy, because people online get so caught up in fantasy football stats and trade value that they forget these guys are human. You see comments like, man, can we get our pick back? Like, bro, this man's fighting battles you can't even see. It's not about picks right now, it's about him being okay, because at the end of the day, if your mind isn't right, nothing else in life works. You can't perform, you can't focus, you can't even enjoy the things that used to make you happy. I've always said it. Mental health is the most important part of any athlete's life. The body heals, the money comes and goes. But once your mind breaks, it's hard to come back from that. You gotta clear your head, get centered again, and remember who you are outside the jersey. We all want to see Jaire bounce back. We want to see that same guy who used to line up one-on-one and tell the top receiver, you're not getting a single yard today. But if he doesn't, if his journey's meant to end here, I hope he knows it's okay to walk away. You don't owe anyone anything but your own peace, and you know what's wild? This isn't just a football player thing anymore. You see it across every sport. Guys like Calvin Ridley, Lane Johnson, and even stars in basketball and baseball taking time off for mental health reasons. And it's not weakness, it's courage. It takes guts to say, I need a break, because the world's watching. And fans can be brutal, but when you start realizing you've been defined by a uniform instead of your own name, that's when it's time to pause. The fact that Jaire's even thinking about stepping away says he's aware of what he's feeling. That's a sign of strength, not surrender. I hope he's surrounded by people who remind him of that. Because in this league, when you're down, the noise gets loud. Everyone's got an opinion. Some will call you soft, Some will say you quit. But those people don't have to wake up every morning feeling like their mind is racing and their body's giving out. They don't have to live inside your head. So yeah, I'll say it again. We're not gonna talk about the football part right now. We're not gonna analyze his last few games or the way he played in Baltimore or Philly. All that can wait. What matters right now is his health. I don't want to wake up one day and hear that another player couldn't handle the pressure anymore. I don't want to see another name trending for the wrong reason. This is the time to be human, to show support, to say we got you. Man, Hire's only 28. 29, that's still young. Most guys are just getting into their football maturity at that point. Just mastering the mental side of the game, and maybe, just maybe, if he takes the time he needs, he could come back stronger. But if not, he's already done more than most ever dream of. He's played at the highest level, earned respect, built a name, and represented his city. That's something no trade or injury can ever take away. I think sometimes we forget how fast this league moves. One moment you're at the top, and the next, people are already asking who's replacing you. But that's why it's so important to step back when you need to protect your peace. Because at the end of the day, you only get one mind, one body, one shot at life, and no amount of touchdowns, interceptions, or trophies is worth losing yourself over. So to Hire Alexander, wherever you're at, I hope you hear this. Take your time, brother. Heal your body. Clear your mind. Find yourself again outside of the field, because the game will always be there. The fans, the noise, the stadium lights, they'll come and go. But your life, your mental health, your peace, that's forever. We're all rooting for you. Man, we want to see you smiling again, whether that's on the field or off it. And if the next chapter is retirement, then hold your head high, because you gave us everything you had. And before anyone tries to turn this into another debate about trades, about whether the Eagles made the right move or not, let's stop right there. There's a time for football talk, and there's a time to just be human. This is one of those times. So yeah, let's all keep him in our prayers. Because when you lose your mental, you lose your compass, you lose direction, and no playbook can fix that. Now let's shift gears a little bit, because there's still a lot happening inside this Eagles locker room that deserves attention. And one of the guys who's been showing what real leadership looks like is A.J. Brown. People always want to talk about A.J. when things go wrong, when he doesn't get enough targets, or when he shows emotion on the sideline. But what they don't talk about is how much of a team-first guy he really is. The man goes out there, blocks on big runs, celebrates his teammates' success like it's his own, and never tries to make it about him. That's the kind of energy that keeps a locker room tight, even when the outside world is looking for drama. After the win against the Packers, A.J. was asked about how it felt to beat such a tough team on the road while still leaving plays on the field, and his response was perfect. No ego, no frustration, just focus. He said it's not about being happy or mad. It's about coming to work every day with the mindset of getting better. That right there tells you everything about who he is. It's easy to be humble when you're getting 10 catches a game. But when you're double-teamed all night and your numbers drop, that's when your character shows. A.J. handled it like a pro. He even talked about Devonta Smith, gave him props for his big catches and touchdowns. You could hear the respect in his voice. Man, he said Devonta's success is about contested catches and precise routes. And he explained how the safety was locked in on him, freeing up Smitty to make plays down the field. That's real football IQ, understanding how your presence on the field helps someone else shine. A.J. knows when he draws coverage, it opens doors for others, and he doesn't complain about it. That's maturity. Then came that question about his blocking on Saquon's big run, and A.J. laughed it off. He said that's just part of his job. He wasn't looking for credit or highlights, just doing what a complete receiver does. He said the spotlight should be on Saquon for making that man miss and turning it into a huge gain. That's what being a great teammate looks like, doing the dirty work. Doing the small things that don't show up in the stat sheet but help the team win. You can tell A.J. gets it now. We all saw the 4th and 6th play at the end of the game that had everyone talking. The Eagles were sitting around the 35-yard line, 30 seconds left. And instead of punting or playing it safe, Jalen Hurts launched a bomb down the sideline to A.J. The crowd was shocked. The commentators were stunned, and honestly, even I was like, what are we doing right now? But later, reports came out saying Jalen and A.J. went rogue again. They made that call themselves, just like They did back in the Seattle game last year. At first, I was heated. Like, come on, you can't be freelancing at that point in the game. But then when I really thought about it, it made me see something different. It told me their bond is still strong. Whatever friction people think exists between them, I don't believe it's that deep. Jalen wasn't trying to undermine the coaches. He was trying to keep his guy involved. Keep AJ's confidence up. Keep that connection alive. That's what real teammates do. They trust each other. Maybe it wasn't the smartest play at the time, but it came from a good place, and if we're being real, the bigger problem might be with how Kevin Patullo's using AJ in this offense. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I don't think Patullo really knows how to get the most out of AJ Brown. You watch the tape and see it plain as day. AJ hasn't lost a step. He's still physical, still quick off the line, still one of the best route runners in football. But the routes he's being asked to run look predictable. Defenses know what's coming. He's getting doubled. And instead of moving him around the formation, putting him in the slot, running motion, mixing it up, they just keep lining him up in the same spots. You can't let a defense key on your best weapon like that. Brian Johnson knew how to use AJ. He schemed him open. He created mismatches. He made sure AJ was involved from the first drive. Patullo, though, it feels like he's still trying to figure it out, and until he does, you're gonna keep seeing these stretches where AJ disappears, not because he's playing bad, but because the scheme isn't giving him enough chances. That's something the coaching staff has to fix fast, because when AJ's cooking, the whole offense opens up. It forces defenses to pick their poison. Do you double AJ and let Devonta or Saquon eat? Or do you play him straight up and risk him torching your corner for 60 yards? But I will say this, no matter what happens with the play calling, the chemistry between Jalen and AJ is still there. You can see it in the way they talk, the way they interact on the sideline. Even when AJ doesn't get targets, he's still hyping up his teammates, still blocking, still engaged. That's not a guy who's checked out. That's a guy who wants to win, and that tells me once they get the play design right, once Patullo figures out how to move him around more, AJ's going to explode again. You can feel it coming. The thing about this Eagles team is that their identity has always been built on connection. From the trenches to the secondary, they play for each other, and AJ represents that perfectly. He might be frustrated at times, sure, but that's because he cares. He wants to contribute. He wants to help this team reach another Super Bowl. And when you've got that kind of passion mixed with his level of talent, you just have to find the right way to unlock it. FlyEaglesFly News family, smash subscribe and hit like. Your support keeps the freshest Philadelphia Eagles updates flying in. Drop your take in the comments and let's talk birds. The NFL world is buzzing with one of the most shocking rumors in recent memory, and it's sending tremors through the league. Whispers are circulating that an ongoing investigation could have unprecedented consequences for one of the sport's most celebrated franchises. Sources close to the situation suggest that the owner of the Philadelphia Eagles might be facing scrutiny so serious that it could jeopardize the team's participation in the Super Bowl. Insiders describe a whirlwind of legal maneuvers, boardroom whispers, and behind-the-scenes meetings that have left players, staff, and fans alike in a state of disbelief. The exact nature of the investigation remains murky, with speculation ranging from financial irregularities to potential breaches of league conduct. Industry analysts are noting that if these rumors hold any truth, the fallout could reshape the power dynamics in the NFL and cast a long shadow over the Eagles' championship aspiration. While the Eagles organization has remained tight-lipped, the chatter is impossible to ignore. Coaches and players have reportedly been instructed to maintain focus on the field, but sources suggest that morale has been affected as the situation unfolds. Social media has exploded with fans debating the credibility of the reports, and even rival franchises are watching closely, sensing that a potential scandal could alter playoff matchups in ways no one had anticipated. League officials are said to be conducting a careful, confidential review, aware that any misstep could trigger widespread controversy. The stakes are enormous. A franchise known for its passionate fan base and recent success could face sanctions that many never imagined. Meanwhile, sports pundits and commentators are spinning theories, some suggesting that the investigation could influence future ownership rules, team valuations, and the very reputation of the NFL as speculation mounts. Insiders warn that confirmation may never come in a neat, public announcement. But the very presence of the investigation has already sent shockwaves through locker rooms, executive suites, and living rooms across America. Fans are left holding their breath, wondering whether one of the league's brightest lights might flicker just as the Super Bowl spotlight shines the brightest. In a sport defined by precision, timing, and strategy, the next moves off the field could prove just as dramatic and just as consequential as anything that happens on it. That's a wrap from FlyEaglesFly News. If you want the fastest Eagles updates, subscribe, drop a like, and turn on the bell. Sound off in the comments. Let's talk birds.